Jimmie Johnson, driver of number 84, Toyota Carvana, or Carvana Toyota, I should say. I said that backwards. Jimmy, there's a lot of work to make the day.
Oh my gosh.
Tell us a little bit about those closing laps there from your seat in the race car.
I just have such a better appreciation for what many have gone through to race in. And, you know, I was so fortunate for so many years to not have to worry about getting in on speed for a variety of different reasons. And last year, you know, went well. We got in on speed, but to go through that just now and literally have it come down to the last 100 yards of the duel, that wasn't in my playbook. And I'm glad I prepared as I did. I'm glad the team was ready. You know, we had a very fast car. Unfortunately, with the crash that took place that I was caught up in, and pitting just had us in a awkward position at the back of the field in the last car in either lane, and it's just tough to make something happen. And you know, coming through 3 and 4, there was an almost wreck again, and JJ chose one lane, I chose the middle lane, and the middle lane prevailed by the time we got to the start-finish. It was just as simple as that.
All right, we'll go ahead and take a couple questions here. We're going to start up front with Kelly.
Kelly, CrandallRacer.com. Jimmie, you said it right there. You've never been through this experience. After last night and the disappointment of not qualifying on speed, what was today like, and the lead up just to get into the race, or to the lead up going into the race?
Lead up, I mean, I started the morning feeling good about things, and we're working on our strategy. We understand what Toyota vehicles are going to do. We know how many cars are in our duel. You know, all these elements come together, and you know, very optimistic, kind of light day. And then as I put my suit on my bus before I walked out, the weight of the situation hit me, and the butterflies started to kick up. And once we settled in at the start of the race, I felt really good with my car. I mean, we had a really fast car, and was able to drive from the back to the front, and something just ran through my mind. I'm like, it's not over. We have a pit stop. You know, we have the end of the race. Who knows what's going to happen? You know, just keep my guard up. And then sure enough, I had 2 or 3 different moments that were quite challenging that maybe put a year or 2 on me. That was, I mean, I'm literally going down the back straightaway, knowing it's the white flag. I can see the 44 car in front of me. He's like 4 or 5 ahead. The 19's pulled out to help me, but he's so far back, he's not going to get to me in time. And I'm like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make the Daytona 500. I'm going to have to call all of our partners. I'm going to have to stand in the suite and shake hands during the 500 and not drive a car. Like, this is running through my mind as I'm catching him. I'm like, I've got to figure out a way. And then an almost wreck happens, and I just leave it on the floor and hope for the best, and just went the other direction than JJ's car, and it worked out.
You had Martin, as you just said, but you came on the radio multiple times pretty frantic about needing help. Were you surprised that the 43 never got back there? Because Earl was saying that they were giving him a message, but you didn't have a whole lot of help back there.
Yeah, I needed a pusher. You know, anybody does in that back lane. And, you know, it's when it comes to the end of the race, it's tough to get people to pull out or try to find a way to you. And I could have used a little help there. Didn't get it, which is fine. You know, we figured out how to do it on our own. But you know, all the best plans that you set into place before the race starts, they always seem to go out the window when the race is taking place.
All right, we'll go to Lee and then Dustin.
Lee Spencer, CatchFence.com. I saw you, I mean, it wasn't an hour before the race, you were up doing hospitality. How do you kind of switch that on and switch that off and get into the position that you needed to be in to get into the race today?
Honestly, I've liked being busy, and the more I sit, the more I have a chance to think. And you know, being as busy as I was today allowed me to not let the weight of the moment hit me until I was putting my suit on. So I do like to stay busy. I wasn't that way throughout my entire career, but lately, you know, in the later years, staying busy has always been good.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. A couple things. What did you? I know you went over to Yaley's car right afterwards. I'm assuming you just gave him a pat, or what did you say to him?
We still had helmets on, so I shook his hand, and you know, that was a duel. I mean, we had elbows out. I'm not sure if it was picked up, but we had some pretty good contact down the front straightaway, and just elbows out. I mean, it was like being on a short track, but we're here at Daytona, and you know, he raced as hard as he could, and I respect the effort he put out and everything that they did to try to make the race, and you know, we just cycled ahead there at the end.
That level of desperation, can you compare it to any other time you felt something close to that or something that brings back what you felt tonight? Or is this something you've never felt before in your career?
You're so helpless in a restrictor plate environment. The car isn't necessarily handling, and your run comes from what other people do. It's not like a normal track where you have anxiety driven by other factors. So here it was just the weight of maybe missing it, and what that would feel like, what that would be like to miss the Daytona 500. So that was the weight I felt on my shoulders, and where the frantic nature came from. And when there was an opening to take, never lifted. And I at one point I hit the car in front of me pretty good, and I was like, I think I'm clear of the 44. I'm in a good position now. If I spin cars in front of me, I'm going to ruin my opportunity. So I actually had to back out, come into the finish line just to not spin the car out in front of me.
All right, we're gonna go to Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. What happened in the wreck with Austin, and did you think that your day was over then?
Yeah, there was a moment there where I wasn't sure who was behind us, and I thought I was going to get cleaned out. But I didn't see what started it. I know we slowed up, and there's that accordion effect, and as that happened, Austin and I touched, and we both kind of wiggled a bit, and we almost had it saved. And then there was another car ahead of Austin who I'm not sure who it was, but then they both came across my nose. I went across the apron pretty hard, so I'm hopeful the car is still straight and it's not too tore up underneath. But that was probably the toughest impact the car made, was transitioning down onto the flat. But it drove good. Steering wheel was straight, so I think the suspension and all is fine on the car. Just a huge scare.
All right, we're gonna go to Ryan McGee.
You mentioned the difference between the feeling for this or the feeling for racing for a win. How different is it then when you're invested in this, or when you're a team owner? Like you mentioned, thinking about what you thought about going down the backstretch. How different is the mindfulness when it's your deal?
Yeah, it's heavier. I feel the weight of the partnerships. From corporate partners to my partner Maury Gallagher, everybody at Legacy Motor Club. I've always had a sense of team and have felt that I'm out there representing a team, but this just had a much different feeling of representing a lot more people on a lot deeper level.
All right, we're gonna go upstairs to the press box for just a minute. Any questions in the press box? All right, we're gonna come back down. We'll go to Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Raceface Digital. Jimmie, you kind of alluded to it right off the top, but given what you had to go through to make this race, of the 21 500s now that you'll have been in, does this one mean the most, or does it mean at least something different than maybe some of the other 500s that you've been in?
Yeah, to be determined. Obviously, depends on how the 500 goes, but I've never been through anything like this. In my first year down here, we fortunately won the pole. And so I had exposure to racing my way in then, but it was pretty stress-free after qualifying. But to fight like we did in those closing laps, I've only done that for a race win here. It's never had that level of anxiety and fight for a duel or anything else except for a proper win.
All right, we're gonna go to Jenna.
Hey, Jimmie, Jennifer, congratulations.
Thank you.
You talked about that sort of panic you were feeling. I don't know what it's hypothetical because you made the race, but had you not made the race and got beat by this team that barely even got to the racetrack, like would that have been like the most embarrassing moment of your career?
I've embarrassed myself quite a few times. I don't know. Golf cart surfing. There's a few. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't. Disappointment would have been really, really high. Embarrassment. I think we raced really well. We did a lot of things right. I was caught up in a crash. Circumstances dictate plate racing, and I think I could have hung my hat on that. We really were fast enough and raced really well tonight. I just would have been really disappointed, and I think I'm identifying with the fact that, there's a lot more riding on my performance in the car these days than when I was a full-time driver. And not only my own personal goals, but then of being a driver, but what's going on as being a team owner and trying to help grow a race team. So there's a lot more weight on it. And I didn't, if you would have asked me that question this morning, I wouldn't have this point of view or be able to reflect on it. I had to go through this experience tonight to understand it.
All right, we're gonna go Chris here on my right, and then Stephen here in the middle will be next.
Hey, Jimmie, congratulations. So you, in your career, have raced in the same race as J.J. Yaley a whole lot of times. But I think it's safe to say this was a pretty unique situation. Were you at all surprised by the fight he put up there to get that last spot with you?
No, not at all. I mean, JJ's a champion and has raced, his whole life. I remember watching him in sprint cars and champ cars and a lot of different things, climbing the ropes coming up. We kind of entered the sport together, and he was a Gibbs driver, and he's a champion. He knows what he's doing. He's a real racer. And when it came down to it with 3 laps to go, and we're door to door, I'm like, how does this always happen in the duels? Like the 2 cars racing to get in, end up by each other, and here's JJ and JJ banging doors, trying to figure it out.
Thanks, Jimmie.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go Stephen here in the middle.
Stephen Toronto, CBS Sports. Jimmie, after qualifying last night, I had to go back and check to see if you had ever failed to qualify for a race in your NASCAR career. It had never happened in the Cup Series. It happened once in the Busch Series, and it just so happened that you didn't make the field for the season opener at Daytona here in 2000. Yeah, your answer suggests you remember that, but how low a feeling was that to have to pack up and go home?
That was really low, and I thought about it this morning when I was waking up having coffee. I hope that my reflection of it wasn't a premonition, but we were a new, the Herzogs helped me move from off-road racing into ASA stock cars and then to Busch. And it was our first race together. There was a lot of new, and we're building a team for the future, and there were a lot of similarities with the vision then as, I'm experiencing and have now, and I went home. And I was like, man, I hope that doesn't repeat itself. I hope that doesn't happen again. So yes, I very much remember missing that race.
Thanks, Jimmie.
Yeah.
All right, one final check back upstairs with the press box.
Jimmie, Bruce Martin from Speed Sport. Toward the end of the race, JJ was behind Ross Chastain. Were you hoping to get him boxed in there and have that work to your advantage, or were you afraid that would create a draft that would make it more difficult for you as a single car?
No, I was hopeful to get up in front of the 44 if it was directly in front of him or Ross, and I was really hoping I could get in front of the 43. So that's where my eyes were focused. I just couldn't get there. It was close a couple of times, just the way the lines cycled back and forth. I physically was in a position, but there wasn't an opening to take. So that's when for those scanning me, that's when my voice probably went up a few decibels, a few octaves, trying to figure out how to get into those spots and be in more of a defensive position to make the race.
All right, we're gonna go to Danielle.
Danielle Trotta, Sirius XM. Hi, Jimmie. Reddick wins, you transfer in. I know Toyota fans were concerned last night, perhaps lack of single car speed. Does this make a statement that the Toyotas have what it takes to get it done? Are you impressed tonight for the Toyota camp for Sunday?
Yeah, I am, and obviously I'm new to it, but I remember being a competitor against them for many years, and they didn't show their strength on qualifying days. It was more in-race performance and drivability of the cars, and I think that showed again tonight. I think it's just one of the traits, or it's in the DNA of the way they approach their plate program. And now in today's world, you carry a body through all forms of tracks that we race on. So you need to build a car that's going to work everywhere. And it's our first time with it. So I think last night, we didn't perform as we wanted to. I know at the Legacy MC side, we need to do a better job. And then I think as a collective group, we need a bit more time with this new car to understand its sweet spot and get it a little better for single car qualifying. I think race time, it's quite sporty.
All right, Jimmie, thank Thank you for spending some time
Thank
with us.
you.
Congratulations again on surviving that last lap.
Thank you.
Ready?
Sure.
Take a seat.
Seat, any seat. All right.
All right, we're going to continue here with our post-race press conference here for duel number 1. We've now been joined by our race winner, Tyler Reddick, driver of the 45 Nasty Beast Toyota.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler,
Very.
congratulations on that win there. Tell us a little bit about those closing laps and how you were able to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, most of our night was not great. Coming to pit road, about wrecked again. I've gotten pretty good at that, but we survived that. That was fortunate. We lost Martin there on that cycle, but when we come back off pit road, we had good steam. The cars were working good together. We were a little tiny pack of 4 cars, but we had some good momentum, so we were kind of cutting up through the the rest of the cars that pitted a little bit later that weren't quite up to speed yet. So that worked out okay. I feel like we were probably going to end up 5th or so before that caution came out. When that happened, it was just kind of trying to determine, if Logano was going to go behind Ty or not. So once that happened, I kind of just decided to go closest to the front. And, Hocevar, Chase, and Kyle were in front of me, and I was just trying to push them as hard as I can. Carson couldn't really get going till the last lap or so. I think he was kind of waiting. Gave him a good shot. Him and Chase got together, and they went to the bottom, and it kind of opened up the perfect opportunity for me. So, yeah, just got to Kyle's back bumper and got clear to the bottom and took it. So it's kind of good timing.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Talk over there. We'll go ahead and take a couple questions here with Tyler, and to kick us off, we'll go to Jenna.
Jennifer AP for the Nasty Beast. 2 questions. The first one is, what was more exciting, the actual win or the time with Bo after?
Well, yeah, I'm also little myself, but it's a very big patch of grass there in the front stretch. And I looked out there and I thought I saw him. I need to go to the eye doctor probably, but yeah, he was there running across the grass, so that was really, really cool. I didn't know if he was gonna come all the way or not, and yeah, it was a lot of fun to put him in the car and for him to get a ride in it. I think he's gotten to sit in the car pre-race a few times, got to sit in the shop, but it was kind of nice to. It's probably the most careful I've ever driven one of these Cup cars, to be honest with you, back to victory lane, because he was kind of holding on, but it was a lot of fun. The car was loud, and he really, really enjoyed it. So, yeah, I think for me, winning here means a lot. It's been a while since I've done that, but to have him make the trek across the grass there and come join me was really special.
And then yesterday, the Toyotas were down on speed, and then you come and win this race today. You feel any better about where Toyota is headed into Sunday?
Maybe a little bit, yeah, definitely, yeah. No, we didn't really know where we're going to fall with this car in qualifying trim. Certainly, that was a little bit off from what we expected, but I think a lot of the drivers remain confident going into racing conditions that the car would work better in the draft. I personally didn't really partake in that till late. I saw Martin Truex and Eric Jones working together good in the outside lane. They're able to be pretty aggressive. So I knew, okay, when we get later in this race, I'll be able to be, more aggressive with my pushes than in the past, and it worked out.
All right, we'll come up to Jacob.
Jacob Zillman, Raceface Digital. Was that a just opportunity struck move? Did you have that kind of somewhat planned with where you were in the pack the last couple laps?
I learned a lot from it for sure. I felt like I was far enough back on that restart, like I was going to have to really push aggressively to try and be the first or second car in whichever row I ended up being in, and it just happened to be the top. So being the 4th car in line, I was concerned that if, things didn't start happening, that I would have an opportunity to win the race. And yeah, just timing kind of just struck. I was wearing out Carson's back bumper, trying to get him going. And we got together good one time, and him and Chase were able to clear to the bottom. And I thought at first, like, oh man, this ain't good. But yeah, I was able to get to Kyle, get him back going. And then we came together pretty easily on the back straightaway and was just pushing him hard, and was able to, like I said, had an opportunity to go low or high once we got clear of the pack a little bit. And I'd say more than anything too, once I got as far out as I did, I was kind of concerned about it, but they were 3 wide, so they kind of stalled each other out. So got lucky there too. But yeah, looking at my teammate there leading the top, I'd say the Toyotas handle good in the pack, and they're able to make steam once we get racing.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. You kind of touched on it with Jenna, but is this a case where, despite what we saw last night with the single car speed lacking, I mean, it feels like last year all over again, where we didn't really hear much from the Toyotas until race day, but you guys are really good in the draft.
Yeah, the cars just, they made hats off to everyone at Toyota and TRD. All the work that they put in on this car has certainly paid off. We wanted to increase our performance everywhere. We also wanted to help ourselves at the speedways, and it's a really good start to see the performance gain and capability increase like it has. It gives us, the drivers, just more opportunities to be aggressive and not have to worry about, turning a fellow Toyota crossed up sideways as we try to draft.
All right, we'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. A couple questions. You had talked a couple weeks ago just about the hopes with the new body with the bumper, and alluded to what happened to you last year because of the bumper and the situation. How does this new body, this bumper, what does this allow you to do, pushing and being pushed now?
Yeah, I didn't get pushed a lot tonight, to be honest with you, but it looked like, but from on the 43 with Eric Jones and Martin Truex, that they were able to be pretty aggressive with one another, and that paid dividends. They're able to get to the front pretty quick. So it looks like you can receive bumps and not get as crossed up. So yeah, I don't have personal experience with that, but we'll get together and talk about our first outing with this brand new Camry, and we'll be prepared for the race Sunday.
And you had talked about the other day just about you needing to run laps at speedway races, and you hadn't done the early part of last year, and then you felt like the last 2 speedway races you had learned lessons and been able to go to the front, go ahead and run the race. How in any way did those experiences from the last 2 speedway races help you do what you needed to do tonight?
It certainly helps some, but to a degree too, you're kind of erasing where you used to have your limits. Like, okay, this is aggressive as I can be pushing, and this is aggressive. This is the most aggressive that someone can be pushing me without getting into trouble. So you kind of had to start from a new benchmark, if you will, and build. But like I said, just watching the cars ahead be aggressive, the other Toyotas do what they were doing, and it working was a really good sign. So yeah, some of it certainly helped gaining some experience last year at the tail end, finally, running laps and finishing some of those races. But tonight just was kind of, we were just kind of in the right spot at the right time, kind of like you saw it at Ricky Stenhouse and, some of these other drivers that have been able to make hay late. It kind of came to us to a degree.
All right, we're going to go upstairs to the press box.
No questions from the press box.
All right, we'll come back downstairs to Chris.
Hey, Tyler. So you've now won at right over here to your right. Yeah. You've now won at Daytona in 3 different series and in 3 different manufacturers, which is a pretty unique stat that just occurred to me. Can you speak to some of the differences in those 3 wins on both those 2 levels?
Yeah, I mean, on the truck side, it was a bit like that race kind of unfolded a bit like how the next gen car races. I was so new to it. TJ Majors was doing a lot to kind of shape my young mind at that time, because I knew what dirty air was from my dirt late model racing days. But I was kind of just listening to him back then and just doing what he said. And, we got to our first race together here with JRM. That was kind of the craziest day I've ever had in a race car with all the things that went wrong. I literally couldn't even accelerate out of the zone on my own power. So to win that race was just a wild week in itself. But yeah, for me in this race, it's probably the smoothest race I've had at a speedway that's turned into a victory. I think a lot of my super speedway wins have been chaotic from start to finish. This one had the potential to be in that. I tried to make it really crazy in the beginning, but thankfully we kind of stuck to our plan, and the cycle still turned out okay. And just, I had a kind of a mindset on that restart, what I need to do, and it kind of all came together for me.
All right. I believe that's all the questions we have. Tyler, congratulations again, and we wish you the best of luck on Sunday in the Daytona 500.
Thank you, guys.